Okay. How many of you have had the experiences of deja vu? So this is another idea where soul in that moment you literally connected to the information that your soul is giving you. So deja vu is literally soul level awareness, and you're literally jumping timelines. You desire to experience something so strongly that you jump timelines to where you're going to experience whatever that is. So Rhonda says Rhonda's got her hands up. Say, yeah, she experienced it. But when you do that, you're literally jumping a timeline and you're going to experience whatever that strong desire was. You jump the timeline to experience that because we got infinite number of ways that things can happen in our life. But when you're going to jump, when you're in deja vu, because you've expressed a desire to experience a certain thing, you jump that timeline. Okay, that's what deja vu is. You're sitting and you're going like, wait a minute, it feels like I've been here before. I remember this happening before, and you're kind of like, was that a dream? Or hey, sometime it might have been a dream, but when you experience that, you literally recognize from your soul level that you jump timelines. Okay, and you jump to a new track to where you're going to experience something that you strongly desire. That's what deja vu is doing. So it happens a lot when we are like creating our lives and we're moving into new directions that we hadn't been in before. That's when you start to experience deja vu. So it's a positive thing, definitely, definitely. Synchronicities, okay? Synchronicities are when you recognize vibrationally associated experiences because we're in linear time, okay? And they call it the arrow of time where it only just goes forward. Well, that's not the truth. So time there's only right now. But you can experience things associated to a certain vibration. That's what's happening when you're dealing with synchronicities. So you're literally, it could be the thing that the event, excuse me, the event can be 2 days or 2 weeks apart. Say like for me, and I always use it's a cardinal.
Hey family, you've been struggling to cope with the aftermath of leaving your Christian faith behind. You're feeling lost and disconnected, unsure of what your purpose in life is. You fear being judged and ostracized by your family and friends or spouse for leaving your faith behind. Now you don't feel like you even know who you are or your purpose, and feeling alone and disconnected. But now you've decided to take control of your life and thoughts. You want to overcome the negative mental programming you've experienced and heal from religious trauma syndrome. That's where the African Mind Rewire class comes in. Our expert guidance and support can help you leverage the power of your subconscious mind to overcome negative mental programming and find inner peace and happiness. You don't have to go through this alone. Join this cutting-edge class and understanding community of like-minded individuals and get the guidance and support you need to navigate your personal and spiritual growth journey. Click the link below in the video description to learn more. Now back to the video.
Is usually a synchronicity for me to let me know that I'm on a certain vibration. When I see a cardinal fly across my path or sit on the windowsill, then I know whatever I'm thinking about or whatever mood that I'm in, I'm vibrationally in sync with something. Okay. I can see that cardinal tomorrow. I can see a cardinal next week. I can see a cardinal next month. But every one of those experiences are connected synchronistically by that cardinal vibrationally. So they are associated vibrations or associated emotions that I'm feeling. So that's a way you can recognize associations vibrationally in time, but they are actually associated outside of time. It just means that you're on a certain particular vibration. That's what a synchronicity is. Get excited when you see those. Okay. So that's a way again that your soul is always perceiving through you all the time. It never stops. You just have to be able to tap into it. When you do start to tap into you, when that Osiris aspect within you, that's the soul aspect within all of us, mankind, man and woman. The Osiris, that's what the ancients call the Osiris. Okay, that aspect within you is always trying to get you to connect to your higher self, the soul that's outside of you. Okay, the aspect of your soul that's in the higher realms. Okay, the biggest thing that keeps us from doing that, one of the main emotions that keeps us from doing that is fear. Okay, so anything on that spectrum of fear, anger, hate, despair, any of those things usually keep us from literally experiencing our higher self. Okay, so I am Kopabi says it's numbers for me. Yeah, so it's I do numbers too. 111-444, and thank you for that gift. I appreciate that, $5. But yeah, it can be numbers, it can be letters, it can be words, it can be anything, but it's your higher self that recognizes it. You recognize the synchronicity. Okay? It's something specifically for you. It doesn't have to mean anything else to anybody else. Excuse me. But you recognize it synchronistically. And you're connecting those dots, so to speak, in time, but they're outside of time and they are associated vibrationally. So they're through associations. That's literally how reality works outside of our physical body. Things are associated via vibration and frequency, okay? And that's how we experience things. Time in a way in our physical body is like a marker, okay? So it marks experience for us in the spirit, in the physical, but it is only a construct of our brain. So how does that matter to you in your life? Okay, what can you use for that, or how do you use that in your life daily? Okay, and one way you can do that is to recognize that your point of power of changing anything in your life starts right now. If you want to change any aspect of your life, you can have that desire starting now and you can forget about the past. Okay. And then you can make that change, start to make that change, start to do the things to make that. If you think about it, the idea of what we think about, and if we think about the past, is really a paradox. Okay. And when I say a paradox, I mean it's this and that. Okay. A paradox is this and that. About something in the past, the paradox is, when are you thinking about it? Right now. Even though you mark it as something in the past, you just brought it to your present. So if you're angry about something in the past, you're bringing something from the past to your present, and it's affecting your present. But at that moment, you can have a decision to make. Do you keep holding on to whatever that is and lowering your vibration in the now, or do you throw it out, push it away, and start to focusing on something different? Because that's where your point of power is right now, always. And whenever I'm dealing with like some hardships, and this is something I dealt with in the past, because I told you guys before, I've been in the position where I've lost everything I had twice. Okay, not one time, two times, because I'm a hard-headed son of a sucker when it comes to following my guides. Woo! But anyway, but there was also lessons that I had to learn in that. But during those times, what I started to do was to recognize one thing that I could do at any time to center myself and not feel afraid or angry. No matter what was happening, I could always say to myself, you know what?
Where does my soul go after I die? Kemetic spirituality specifically, and African spirituality in general, are systems that provide a foundation for mental freedom and spiritual expansion. In this video, I'll address the question of where do we go when we die from the African spiritual perspective and contrast it from the Christian religious perspective. In prehistoric Kemet, they didn't even have a word for death. Their orientation wasn't the physical body, but a soul that existed eternally. They called it westing, as in the soul or sun setting in the west, but knowing it will rise again. It was a different paradigm than our modern way of thinking. Most people believe on some level that we're on earth by happenstance. We're born, then we die. If you've ever been Christian, you're born to serve the male psychotic God in some capacity who gives you the free will to choose what you want to do, but will punish you through eternal damnation if the choice is not what he decided for you. Ultimately, that's not free will. It's Russian roulette. If you're lucky, you choose right. If you're not, well, you will pay. There's a growing body of knowledge that trained hypnotherapists are doing through past life regression. Many of them are corroborating the stories of life between lives of thousands of individual cases. The similarities of stories from people of different cultures, religions, and races is astounding. Here's what you need to understand. You're an energetic being. Energy exists forever and can never be destroyed or created. It can only change forms. That's the first law of thermodynamics. The ancient Africans were saying the same exact thing as science, but using terminology that we worshipped or had a high level of reverence for through religious conditioning and upbringing. The ancient Egyptians stated that in the beginning is spirit and in the end is spirit. If we put this same idea in modern terms, we would say in the beginning is energy and in the end is energy. In the ancient teachings of the Egyptians, anything that is physically born is destined to die. That which enters and animates the physical body at birth and emerges from the physical body after death is the only thing that can live eternally. That would be the metaphysical aspect of yourself called the soul in modern spiritual vernacular, the light body. The ancient Greeks encoded esoteric language in the biblical Gospels. If you look at the Bible as a book of stories, then the main character is the soul. It's actually the soul that euphemistically dies on the cross in the Bible, not a historical Jesus. At different stages, the Kemetic cosmology called the soul Osiris or Horus. The soul is not born according to the Egyptian teachers of the ancient Greeks. It's eternal. But when it descends to earth, it loses the multidimensional awareness it had in the metaphysical world in order to animate the physical body. The reason for the soul lowering itself into the physical world is analogous to a game for the souls. The souls within mankind, or the Osiris, as the Egyptians called it, has the job to raise the level of consciousness of the lower Ka, or egoic physical being, to connecting to its higher Ka. From the elevated state, the lower Ka taps into the knowledge of the higher Ka and is no longer swayed by its fears. This was the original concept of transubstantiation. It meant to transmute or change energy into a positive elevated state called the Christ. From the ancient African perspective, the question would be asked, did the soul complete its task or soul contract? A soul contract is the goal you would agree to fulfill as a soul while in the physical world. If it did, then the soul would graduate to reincarnate to another body, another soul contract, and another lesson. If it didn't complete its soul contract, then it would reincarnate into another body but work on the same lesson with a slightly different twist. Maybe the last body was a black male living in the inner city. The next body might be a white female living in the suburbs, but the lesson or theme would be the same. The life theme will be repeated until the soul gains the wisdom to not be swayed by fears or other negative emotions. If you do some research, you'll find that the Christian doctrine of eternal hell was really pushed forward by one Christian father. Have you ever wondered where the idea of hell came from? Biblical scholars know the doctrine is not even biblical. For the first 5 centuries of Christianity, there was no teachings or belief in an eternal hell. It was the Christian father, St. Augustine, who didn't speak or understand Greek very well, that butchered the translations of the original New Testament and came up with the idea of an eternal hell. It's pretty well documented that a lot of the early Christian fathers were not the sharpest tools in the shed. They came up with some spiritually dumb ideas that modern Christians accept on faith without question. In other words, modern Christian faith is acceptance and belief in someone else's spiritual experience from 2,000 years ago. And many of them from 2,000 years ago were philosophical and spiritual dummies. Because of St. Augustine, the church began the teachings about an eternal hell and then solidified them by conveniently incorporating aspects of Dante Alighieri's poem, The Inferno. But the truth is, there is no basis that hell is founded on except the belief of a not-so-smart church father that misinterpreted Greek manuscripts. So where do you go when you die? That depends. But never to hell. As a soul, you could actually end up in some place other than earth. Now stick that in your pipe and smoke it. The ancient Africans would say that as a soul, you'll not burn forever. You get to learn forever. Now, if this video has been beneficial for you and you would like the opportunity to learn more about soul contracts and more, then head over to my site at www.beyondthephysical.me and get more information about my class. It's beginner-friendly Kemetic spirituality. You can also check out my blog and e-courses at www.kemeticcenteredliving.com. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it to those that it may benefit, and subscribe to my channel. Peace.
How do we find out what is our life contract? That's a good question, Karen J.O. Cartwright. So part of finding out your contract is really looking at your life and the things that you're going through. Okay, so a lot of times you can recognize certain lessons that you're supposed to learn based on how they repeat. Okay, and lessons that you don't learn, you always get a chance to repeat them sometime later. Okay, difficult things that you don't learn. And this is things that you have that you struggle with in life. That is usually something that is contract based. That's something that you've contracted to learn. And the difficulty is that you get in front of you until you learn it. You know, it's going to keep being repeated. You know, it might be with finances. It might be relationships. It might be the types of jobs or something that's happening on the job. You know, I remember for me, I know one of my things that I had to learn was in a previous life, I abused power. Well, in this life, I was supposed to learn how not to abuse my power. Okay. And so when I was a manager for particular companies, one of the things I had to learn was I had higher ups that wanted me to treat my employees in a way that wasn't real cool, you know. Basically try to instill fear in them, you know, talk to them a certain way, talk down to them. And I literally had to tell I'm not talking to people like that. I'm not doing that, you know. But it was something in me at that point that said, that's not how this is supposed to work. Even though this higher up is trying to force you and tell you to treat your employees a certain way, I had to stand up to him. And once I stood up to him, my lesson was learned. Okay. Once I stood up to him and I acted like I said I was going to act. In other words, I wasn't going to treat my employees in a negative way. My lesson was learned. Okay. So that those type of things, that's what happens. So those difficult, that was what I knew. My higher up was someone that I contracted with to help me to teach that lesson. Him being really an asshole of a boss was my catalyst to learn that lesson. So I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I'm using different examples in my life because just saying, hey, these are things that I've had to learn, I've had to pick up over time.